you would normally see in the park, especially where there's tourists. So again, and I understand, please make no mistake, we understand that this is seasonal, that we were at this particular time of the video, it was summer but during during winter. And during winter and spring, there's normally vegetation issues. We understand that. But again, we're just looking at the comparison between the two areas. So is it mismanagement? Is it simply drought? We're not actually sure. So we've had unfettered access, which we appreciate, as I've said. We also understand that there's the natural attrition for elephants during a drought period or during seasonal or age issues. But how many elephants are expected to die from starvation during the lean winter and early spring months coming up this year? Towards the end of this year, how many are we expecting to suffer and die, like that elephant calf that you saw that was paddling on the ground? Have we got plans in place to aid the weakened or compromised elephants? Are they going to be euthanized? Are they going to be shot? What is the plan going forward? If Madikwe Game Reserve is to start a culling program, we still need to say that the other external parties and experts must be involved in this process. But when would they plan on starting the culling program? And we also call for the SOP for the culling program to be sent to us for review, not only to align with the elephant norms and standards, but also to align with the ambits of the Animals Protection Act. But again, we've got to ask, who is being held accountable and what actions have been taken? And the impact on the lesser species. And when I say lesser species, the less charismatic species that are also affected by a burgeoning elephant population, as well as poor management and felt. So we need to know who's being accountable for this. So although we have the proposed culling plan, which we were given during the meeting with Northwest and the DECT, we won't be sharing it, but it is a dramatic plan spanning several years. And again, we ask, why were we shut off in terms of communication? We were informed we'd be appointed by the MEC to the second task team. However, no invitation was ever extended, despite this urgency which was created and stated by both parties. But 6 months later, we are still no further. And again, we ask their question, who is being accountable for the mismanagement of the reserve? The DECT has the mother department who oversees the provincial matters. When do they step in? Have they stepped in? And what did they do when they did come to the rescue of the Madikwe Game Reserve? Okay, so the hard questions asked to be asked. Have the authorities been waiting for us to take legal action and issue and get a High Court order issued similarly to that of Marloth Park, where we demand that animal suffering is addressed immediately? And if so, is it because of public perception that the NSPCA said that a cull must take place? That's absolutely not what we're saying. And the court order would never say that. Had we had to get one, it would be about what measures Northwest Parks and Tourism Board and the DECT are taking in terms of addressing the issues. Is it range manipulation? Is it translocation? Range expansion? Those are the other considerations that still need to truly be explored, and be explored with people on the task team that are external to these two authorities. So we've had to turn to legal practitioners to try and get any sense of ideas of where Northwest and the DEX plans are. We don't want to go that way. We want to work through the honourable members, get the answers that we're looking for, because I think everyone knows that we're going to wrap up so much time and money in legal battles, which at the end of the day are not going to help the animals suffering in the immediate right now. So we need to know where we stand with the parties, why we're not appointed to task teams, who will be appointed to task teams if the task teams have not considered a way forward apart from culling. And those are the things we need to know. And even let's just say the worst case scenario comes about and an elephant cull is done. What humane measures are the parks going to put into place to ensure that they don't have a population crisis as what's happened now? And the humane measures that have to be put in place. And that's it. I know I'm 5 minutes shy of the time that I have, but I don't think I need to say much more than what I've said already. It's questions that we have. It's the animal abuse and cruelty that we've seen, whether intentional or through neglect, that we need to see addressed. And we want to know who is being held accountable for the travesty that's been happening and unfolding at the Madikwe Game Reserve. And that's it from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Walota from the National Council of NSPCA. We are going to move to the MEC, Nkopane. She's going to do her overview before we get a presentation from Northwest. MEC, over to you.
Thank you, Chairperson, and greetings to the honorable members on the platform, the department, and all the parties on the platform.
Can you switch on your video so that we can see you, and then you can switch it off again? Thank you, MEC.
Chairperson, I must apologize that I'm also making a debate in the legislature, so I will just be quick, but I'm with the head of department here. But broadly, let me just take you quickly on the overview, Chairperson.
You can switch off your video now and then continue, ma'am.
All right, thank you. May I just take you on the overview that the operations of the Northwest Department of Economic Development and Conservation is actually having a lot of legislation to draw from, but in particular Section 24 of the Constitution and Schedule 4 of the Constitution. Chairperson, without getting too much of this, as the content of the subject of today will be outlined by administration, I must just highlight to you that within the 4 months of arrival as the 7th administration, we could not wait and had to hit the ground running by getting into the space of dealing with the balance and the management of our fauna and flora. I can confirm before this committee, Honorable Chair, that within that time, as I indicated, we had already written to the minister to join hands with us as the government of the Northwest through this department to get a task team that will decisively deal with management and balance of fauna and flora, in particular the elephant management, where the MEC has appointed a task team, and the task team is working collectively with the delegation from the ministry appointed by Minister George, all stakeholders involved, including the NPCSA and all other interested parties, including communities. I should also highlight to you, Honorable Chair, that the history and the evolution of Madikwe Game Reserve has been successfully occupied the space that is not to be looked at as it was looked at since 1992. It has now been claimed by communities comprising of at least 56% of the game reserve, and it is therefore important that we should navigate to adopt approaches that are community-based and that are going to see these communities, that these communities are going to see the land as theirs. I will hand over to the head of department to proceed, as I am also to debate this side, Chair, if you so allow, kindly.
Thank you. Thank you, NSC. Over to you, Mr. Mufokate. You can switch off on your video, then off again. We want to see you. Mr. Mufokate.
Thank you, Chair. I'm trying to get my gadget right. I don't know if I'm audible now, Chair.
Yes, you are audible. We can see you. You can switch it off and then continue with the presentation.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Chair. The Honorable MEC has outlined the position of the department and the current status, Chair. Chair, we have arranged such that the CEO of the Parks and Tourism Board, led by the chairperson of the board, to take the committee through the presentation. So if chairperson allows, I would like to hand over to the chairperson to take the committee through the presentation. Thank you very much.
Okay. The chairperson of the board, you are going to just share a few remarks and then hand over to the official to do the presentation. Chairperson.
Honorable Chairperson and honorable members, DM Singh and DM Swart, as well as MEC and all officials, both from the department as well as the Northwest Parks and Tourism Board and the DDECT. Let me also acknowledge our partners, the NSPCA, who are in our midst. Indeed, Chairperson, our acting CEO, is going to take us through. Needless to say that it is important to emphasize that the situation at Madikwe Game Reserve, it's a serious situation, which, as the MEC indicated, we are working hard to make sure we leave no stone unturned. We work with our partners to make sure that we address the situation. So if I can allow acting CEO to come in. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chairperson. Mr. Danga, can you continue? Mr. Denga.
Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning, all members, and of course, MEC, HOD, and all colleagues.
Can you switch on your video?
My name is Jonathan Denga, who is currently acting as the CEO of Northwest Parks and Tourism Board. And
can you switch on your video so that we can see you, Mr. Denga?
Okay.
Okay. You can switch it off again. You can see you, yes.
Thank you, Chairperson. I'll be taking you through the presentation that we've prepared in this. And I'm thankful for the NSPCA for quite a great presentation that they've given about this. And then I must also say that we are actually pleased that we have been working with the NSPCA since the day of announcement of the tragedy in Madikwe. They were in fact the people who were allowed to even come in to assist us with some of the issues, including the messy killing of animals, of the elephants in Madikwe, when the need arose. So we say to NSPCA, thank you very much for continuing to take interest in this matter and ensuring that we find solutions around it. You can put this in a presentation mode, Secretariat.
It is already in the presentation mode. You can continue, Mr. Tang.
All right, thank you very much. You can go to the next slide then. While they
are you controlling it, or is there someone? Is there someone who is controlling
there's
this
somebody who's
presentation?
controlling it. It's not me this side. Somebody who has loaded the presentation that side might just please control it for us.
Here.
Chair, Tenji.
Who is controlling this presentation?
Tenji's one.
If
It's
you,
Tenji's one.
yeah, please just put it on the presentation mode, Tenjisa, and then move the slides, please.
The presentation has disappeared. Here. Tilaga.
I'm trying to because it's on my head.
Chair, Tenji's gonna share the slides again.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you for that.
Go back to slide number 2, Tenjiswa.
Two.
Go to slide number 2. Because now we're in slide 8. Kilega, are we unable to control this by ourselves? Tandla, can you assist?
Sure. The presenter is actually given rights to present and also flight. So I think that should be easy to do from his side.
From their side.
Yes.
What seemed to be the problem, Mr. Tenga?
I think it has been flagged.
Tenjiswa, is Tenjiswa from your side?
There we go. Yeah, she's moving now. She's from our side.
Okay.
But,
Okay.
she's not with me where I am currently, chairperson. But I see she's
Okay.
moving now. Thank you,
Okay,
Tenji.
you can continue.
I think
Continue.
just to start off, chairperson, for the benefit of everybody else, we do, as the Northwest Parks and Tourism Board and the Northwest Province in general, do align to the constitutional mandate. That is that of Section 24 of ensuring that we place reasonable legislation and other measures in place to ensure that the environment is protected for the benefit of present and future generations. And that's including through the promoting conservation, securing ecological sustainable development, and the use of natural resources, all in all together. You can move to the next slide. And while we talk about the issues of the mandate, we must all remember that the issues of environmental aspects are the issues of dual mandate, and that is the mandate enshrined to the national department, equally so to the provincial department. And in that, the issuing norms or standards are then placed to the door of the minister. And in this case, those are the norms and standards that are then used into the management of these elephants, all in all, generally. And of course, the restricting of activities over such biological assets, the developing and approving of management plans. This is also a dual mandate on which the developing part of it lies with the province, and then the approval of such management plans to manage these elephants lies with the minister. Of course, the enforcing compliance, we do this together, and reviewing and amending of all existing norms and standards will then be left with the minister. You can move to the next slide. And from our point of view, as the minister of the MEC of the province, we are therefore enshrined with the powers then to issue the permits for all restricted activities over these particular animals, enforcing the regulations together with the national department. That includes the permits, whether the elephants themselves need to be hunted, culled, or in any other way, form. That lies with us as the department in the province, as it has been said before. MEC have the power to develop and implement regulations as well. Those are local regulations in terms of our local acts in the province. MEC can also receive and review appeals against any decisions that may be or that may have been made. In this case, it is true, as been stated by the NSPCA as well, that this is also area of responsibility of the MEC, area of responsibility of the Northwest Parks and Tourism Board in the province. MEC can also require the preparation of management plans for elephants, especially those in the captive facilities, and disapprove these plans. And those that are in open areas, such as under the Northwest Parks and Tourism Board, she orders the development of such plans, and then up until they're submitted up to the minister for approval. MEC can also authorize the capture, sedation elephants for disease control, scientific research, or management purposes, and the culling, therefore, of the particular animals. Of course, with what we call the approved culling plan, which would have been approved by the minister. Okay, you can move the slide. Elephant conservation, just a brief around that, chairperson and the members. The African elephant is currently listed under the International Union for Conservation of Nature, under the red list as vulnerable and nationally as least concern. And I think it's important to state that. And the species is also currently listed as a protected species in terms of the Biodiversity Act of the country. And in addition, this elephant is included in the CITES as Appendix 2. However, its ivory is deemed to be included in Appendix 1, for which international commercial trade is currently prohibited. And that's just the ivory. And continuing with the elephant conservation, there's many risks that could be associated with the elephant management, including, amongst others that we've listed there, the human-elephant conflict, which means that if they were deemed to be what we call damage-causing animals, they have a serious implication in people or communities around where they are kept. Of course, overpopulation, too many elephants can threaten the biodiversity, as that which we see now currently in Madikwe. Limited management options. We are faced with an unfortunate situation. The elephant problem is not just only the Northwest problem or Madikwe problem. It's not only just the problem of South Africa, but it's the problem of the region. That's the SADC in total. And there has not been many options left that have not been exercised to be able to manage the population of elephants in the Southern Africa or in Africa in general. Okay, you can move the slide. The regional elephant status is chairperson. You will see that the Southern Africa, from the entire Africa, has got the most elephants currently in numbers. And then the regional estimated elephant per range per square kilometer, the Southern African region bears about 42% more than any other regions. Okay, you can move the slide. And the population estimates per range country, the far right countries that you're seeing there, which makes the SADC. That's from Tanzania up until the Mozambique. You will see that's where the highest number of elephant population exists currently. And then the entire Africa, if you look into it, they have some, but not as many. So their problem is not exactly the same as we have in the SADC area. And I'm saying this just to show how this problem ranges accordingly across the elephant ranges states. Okay, go to slide number 9. The consumptive wildlife used as trophy hunting, you'll also see that it follows the same pattern that the countries that has got the most number of those species, including the elephants, are the ones that in fact hunting the most of those animals themselves. And therefore less animals are being used from the areas where they do not have. So this will then come into play when we have to look into the issues of whether this overpopulation of elephants, if turned into a sustainable resource with the utilization patterns that we're seeing currently, wouldn't then be a resource for our communities, as MEC already has spoken about Madikwe being owned by communities, so that's far. You can move to number 10. A little bit of background around Madikwe. So the people that maybe do not know where Madikwe is. Madikwe was officially established in 1991. It was a joint venture between government, local communities, and private sector investors. And as MEC already said, its establishment saw a lot of people moved out of the area, making way for this particular project to happen, which had happened similarly to that of Pilanesberg, which are not far apart. This was part of a broader initiative to boost the economy and create jobs in rural areas through sustainable land use in this particular province. Madikwe was established as an tourist destination by government at that time, and private sector was invited to invest into the development of high-end tourist facilities to maximize economic development and job creation. In addition to that, the development of infrastructure to establish an exclusive product. Madikwe was also stocked with animals in one of the largest translocation projects, and that project at that time was known as Operation Phoenix. And the bit about community involvement around Madikwe and the shift of land ownership there too. When this place was created initially, the land was not, as the communities were moved out, was no longer owned by communities. But with the now a government that we have, which makes a beautiful enshrinement of the people to own the land and to go back to the land where they used to own, we've seen the entire 60,000 hectares of Madikwe, which is current size of Madikwe, at least more than half of it being owned by communities. And this was successfully transferred and restored to the two communities who are Warholokadi ba Mautwe and Wapalani ba Sisobe CPA. Chairperson, that's about 56% of that land now belonging to the communities. So far, only a signed land incorporation agreement for at least 4,100 hectares of land that is outside this reserve currently developing the site as a reserve with a private partner. Fences not yet dropped. And the 40-bed community lodge development and traversing rights inside Madikwe have not seen success, with difficulties finding sustainable partnerships currently developing outside the reserve. So this is just to indicate basically that since this whole major ownership shift of Madikwe, we are yet to come up with more sustainable ways for us to be able to ensure that the community benefits in real time in this place. The 5 other neighboring communities have been given at least 20-bed lodge development and traversing rights in Madikwe. Only 2 have so far developed, that's Mulatedi at Takadu Lodge and Likubung at Buffalo Ridge Lodge. The others are Palane, Suping Start, and Masivudule communities. And all these communities need to be assisted to develop, upgrade, and operate profitably within Madikwe. The board seeks to further rectify the current situation. So the rectification of the current situation being presented by the elephants in Madikwe does not only help the environment, but it assists the communities and our plan to ensure that the communities are sustainable in Madikwe. Community involvement in Madikwe as we continue. Initially, when the land restitution, okay, that's fine. We can skip that slide. It's not a problem. Initially, when the land restitution, all right, Madikwe elephants background, continue. The 219 elephants that were introduced in the beginning into Madikwe, that was somewhere around 1992 and 1993. That is the beginning of elephants in that place. And in 1998, 8 more bulls were introduced. And these elephants were highly distressed and traumatized and was sourced from the elephant populations in Zimbabwe. These were amongst the first transfer that were entire family groups in terms of or in line with the current norms and standards that we have, were in fact put in practice. As a result, introduced population were heavily skewed towards females, and this population showed significant growth over the past 30 years. As we speak now, the Northwest Province accommodates at least about 2,127 elephants in the 4 properties within the province itself. And that's the 2 properties that belongs to Parks Board and the 2 private properties that are in the province. And the management objectives for elephants have always been to optimize their value as a keystone species that plays a critical role in the ecosystem. Although now we're seeing this in reverse, was to maintain the population in a state where the elephant-associated ecological processes are maintained, and of course, consumptive use allowed under current legislation, which is something that we are considering now. The management to enhance the contribution of elephant newly incorporated areas and other partnerships and work towards an integrated elephant management across boundaries. And the population trends are that the population estimates for Madikwe according to 2024 aerial game count that we conducted, that's the last count that was done, at least about 1,633 elephants are found in Madikwe. That's the same stats that the NSPCA have flagged this morning. This represents a sustained average population growth of about 7.8% chairperson. And that has never been seen anywhere else. The population density for elephants in Madikwe is currently estimated at 2.7 elephant per square meter. This density is probably the highest density of elephants in enclosed areas in South Africa, and probably in the Southern Africa. And then Landman and Kelly in 2018, they found elephants density ranging on average between 0.28 elephants per square meters for privately owned properties and 0.79 elephants per square meter for state-owned properties. If you look into the aerial counts versus the modeled population, you could see with the blue line that is modeled, that is so accurate, or it is so well aligned with the counts that are being done. So we will not say that the statistics presented in any way or anyhow is incorrect. So therefore, what was presented by the NSPCA regarding the statistics is exactly what it is on the ground. Number 18. And this also just then confirmed the fact that in Madikwe, in that 60,000 hectares of Madikwe, the total biomass, that's all the animals combined, biodiversity combined in Madikwe, you will see that the elephants are at least about 60% of that biomass, which is definitely a serious problem. Can move to number 19. The desired population size, as has been said by the NSPCA now, is almost as they were reading from the presentations that we've made also. Maximum numbers for elephants, 250 elephants, were planned around 1997. In 2006, that was changed. The management plan indicated that elephants' numbers will need to be controlled, but didn't specify desired numbers. The revision of management plan in 2012 suggested that elephant numbers be reduced to 300. And the 2023 approved management plan stated an optimal stocking level of 500 elephants at least. And then would be preferred at 1,000 being seen as an upper economically determined capacity, which today cannot be practical with virtual destruction that we are already seeing on the habitat. The challenges with elephants in Madikwe: in August 2024, there was a sharp increase in mortalities amongst elephants. And that's what brought the entire alarm. And these mortalities increased further during September and October 2024. At the time, the park was also in a serious dry spell and food sources were under pressure. The post-mortem investigations that were conducted on some of the carcasses confirmed the cause of death as malnutrition. And I have to state it, Chairperson, that the video that NSPCA have just shown now, it confirms to this particular statement. And it goes to show you that in all this work from the beginning, after this challenge was discovered, we have been working hand to hand with the NSPCA on the ground about this matter. In September 2024, the MEC for DDECT wrote a letter to the National Minister. That's the current National Minister at DFFE. And it was to alert the department about the overabundance of elephants in Madikwe and to sought the department's support in pursuing a totally integrated approach in the controlling of these elephants in Madikwe. As we have said in the beginning, and I think the NSPCA did state also that the issues of elephant management are very emotive globally. And even if it was only the Northwest Province that would have just gone ahead and start reducing this number of elephants without consultation with the National Minister, who also holds the same mandate over the environmental issues, and of course paying due regard to the country's image and all that, it wouldn't have been a great approach. And that is the reason we wrote to the minister about this. The Honorable Minister responded positively about it, which is we're grateful about that, and which led then to the establishment by the MEC, what we call the Provincial Task Team towards the management of elephants in the Northwest Province. It's a provincial task team. And we are hoping that whatever way we find solution that we find, it will then be a solution that will assist the entire country, perhaps even the region in the future. As I have said, this is not only just the challenge of the Northwest Province. And then the mortalities continued into November 2024. The park developed a protocol for massive killing of elephants in very poor conditions. And that massive killing development of the protocol and the application in the field, NSPCA were part of that. Even the massive killings that we're talking about on the field, NSPCA, we brought them into, we allowed them also, participation into that. We did that with them. It's their mandate. A total of 75 elephants died during this period in total. Most of the animals were juveniles, and some old animals also died. This is typical of the demography of mortalities of a population under nutritional stress. The first rainfall in November 2024 came, which brought in an immediate relief that was needed. And then all mortalities were gone, and the animals were observed to be recovering in shape and health. Okay, you can move. The overabundance is very evident. Canopy structure of trees has been homogenized to a 2-meter high shrub layer. Density of large trees declined significantly over the past 30 years. Madikwe is not large enough to sustain resources gradients that will enable heterogeneous utilization of habitats across the reserve. Water provision is relatively evenly distributed through the reserve. Elephants' use of landscapes also homogeneous. Bulls breaking into protected lodge areas to feed on the remaining large trees, mostly during the bottleneck period from August to October, is evident. The overpopulation of elephant causing destruction of habitat of secondary species. The high number of elephants are also affecting the availability of forage for other herbivores in Madikwe. The pressure of an increasing elephant population on external fences is mounting, and the consequences of an elephant or herd of elephant escaping from Madikwe could be devastating if that was to happen. Imagine all other predators that might come out and the disease issue, which is contained in Madikwe under quarantine currently. The relationship between the community and Madikwe Game Reserve is important. International and provincial borders, population likely to continue to grow further under circumstances if we do not act. Population control, density management measures. Madikwe has always pursued mechanisms to reduce elephant impact and elephant densities. The range expansion through the Heritage Park and Land Incorporation, which NSPCA have just
recording stopped.
Also
recording in progress.
Shown in their slides now. Unfortunately, that cannot work due to limited expansion. Can you go back to that slide? Let me finish it, please. Yes, thank you. And then translocations, NSPCA did also mention the fact that there is no interest out there to take elephants from anywhere else. So the places to move elephants to virtually does not exist currently. Contraception, this will take too long and only applicable if applied on numbers within carrying capacity. So to go and put contraceptions on animals that are already in these high numbers, and you were going to cull them in the end anyway, it will just be a waste. You would rather bring the numbers down and then put contraception on those that are left. The culling is highly proposed now, and that's what the task team is also looking into. And the range manipulation, this has not yet been explored. And trophy hunting proposed highly as well. And both culling and trophy hunting are seen as the way more sustainable and quicker to managing the situation, even in the short term. The provincial task team that has been placed, Chairperson, The elephant management is a contentious and highly controversial subject. We all know that. Elephants are one of the iconic species in South Africa, and the norms and standards for the management of these species require an open and transparent process, which can be defined and where consultations can be demonstrated better. As mentioned, the MEC, with support of the Minister, came to the development of this task team that I've already said about. And this team consists of members from the DFFE, which is the national government, the SANB, which is the South African National Biodiversity Institute, the SANParks, South African National Parks, and the Northwest University. DDECT as the department, People and Parks, the African Wildlife Economy Institute under the Stellenbosch University. Some of the concessions and state vets are also being brought in as the need arises. And this goes to respond to the issue as to who are these people in the task team, whether these are the people that are knowledgeable on the subject matter or not. Chairperson, these are the people that are coming from these institutes that were selected to be able to work on this particular task team. The PTT will also consult bodies such as the NSPCA, who we're presenting today, the WRSA, the Hunting Fraternity, other academics, and relevant NGOs that may need to be consulted. And the focal area of the team, the construct a framework of the dynamics of elephant populations in Madikwe and Pilanesberg, and the mechanism through which they influence ecological, social, and tourist objectives. Using this framework, will define the elephant current role in the achieving the objectives and aspiration of these reserves. Given these ecological mechanisms, what interventions will address the underlying cause of elephants influencing the ability to achieve the park objectives? Will define the risks and opportunities. How can one mitigate these risks and maximize the opportunities thereto? We'll review the elephant management plans that are currently in place and ensure the development of recommendations specifically in the terms of proposed interventions and monitoring the outcomes of these interventions. And we'll also identify additional information as well as specific research needs. The terms of references have been completed and approved, and the framework for execution is of the mandate of the terms of reference has been finalized, and it's listed there below. The first site visit was done by the task team on the 19th and 20th of May 2025, and a general multi-day work session is planned for July 2025, during when available and research will be reviewed. Goals and objectives will be unpacked in terms of elephant impacts, with the risks and the risk mitigations thereto. Okay. In conclusion, Chairperson, we all know and are aware of the challenge that is on us at Madikwe regarding the elephants. And then the NSPCA were one of the very first organizations externally that we have worked with around this issue when the challenge came to to be noticed with the death of elephants. They, in fact, were assisting us on the ground in Madikwe with this. The findings of the task team, we believe that they will be objective. They will be able to identify all the salient issues which influence elephant management on properties in the Northwest Parks and Tourism Board. Since we are at a turning point in Madikwe Nature Reserve now, we believe the recommendations should be realistic and feasible, and there's a need for immediate action in Madikwe currently, Chairperson, and a plan of action with specific outputs for other conservation area in the province is being compiled now. And that will then be those short-term or immediate interventions in Madikwe. The culling and hunting are options of priority.
Recording stopped.
And veterinary considerations
Recording in
currently, as we
progress.
speak, are underway for a sustainable use of derivatives and products, including the meat, for the communities, by the communities. So all these things are being considered. They are being taken care of. We are working with a number of stakeholders around this. And again, in conclusion, I must repeat the fact that the management of elephants in this regard is a sensitive matter, and it's a matter that needs to be dealt with in a particular way by the country itself. Chairperson, you would have heard our neighboring Botswana with the previous president talking about Germany. Perhaps you must just come and fetch these elephants, or we can fly them to Germany. NSPCA now, they've just made it simple by showing us the plans of Namibia and the plans of Zimbabwe that were recently announced. So the elephant problem should not be seen only as a Madikwe problem, but the Madikwe challenge should be a challenge to learn from as we begin to strategize as a country broadly. Of course, with the assistance of the NSPCA and all other organizations. And with that, I thank you, Chairperson. That's our presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Denga. Honorable members, those were the two presentations, one from the NSPCA and this one from the Northwest Department. I will then open for hands. I see the hand of Honorable Beach, followed by Honorable Paulson, Honorable Makasi, Honorable Mkize, followed by Honorable Managa, Honorable De Block.
Me, I can't raise my hand.
You will be following Honorable De Block, Mamo Kumalo. I think I saw Honorable Somba Masiu here. Yes, yeah, Honorable Somba Masiu. You will be the last one. In that order, honorable members, Honorable Beach.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, I want to say thank you very much, firstly, to Mr. Voliter from the NSPCA for his presentation. I think this is probably one of the most shocking presentations that I've seen in some time. You know, that really goes above and beyond, detailing the absolute neglect and the absolute mismanagement of a state institution to be allowed to get to a position for various reasons. I very much thank Mr. Voliter for providing us with this information. I'd also like to thank Mr. Denga for his presentation. It was a very, very concise and I think, you know, contains a lot of scientific information there that I think is quite critical for making the case in regards to the Northwest's responsibility in regards to the elephant management plan. I've spent my life being a scientist, so, you know, having that kind of information to a politician makes the decision making a lot easier to come to the correct conclusion. And Chair, through you, I wanted to pose a couple of questions to Mr. Denga. I see that he's the acting CEO there. And I'd be interested to hear how long he's been a member or a part of that organization. I think often when it comes to very, very difficult decisions like this, top officials in acting positions, it becomes a very difficult task for them to make these difficult decisions that we obviously require. I'd just like to pose a couple of questions, and I think Mr. Voliter helped us in framing some of the questions. First and foremost, Mr. Voliter was quite explicit in his questions. Why has the SPCA not been included in the provincial task team? I think this is of critical importance. Mr. Denga did indicate that there was a whole bunch of stakeholders that were included. But I think Mr. Voliter emphatically indicated that the SPCA was not included in this process. And I think it would be very constructive if that could be done as soon as possible. While I am a big proponent of having accurate scientific data, we must be careful not to hold the science as the reason for delays in action. I'm very concerned. We are going back into the winter season that will exacerbate again the suffering of these poor defenseless animals that is in our care. And we need to find mechanisms to alleviate the situation in Madikwe as soon as possible. I note with grave care that I see the task team is only scheduled to meet again in July. I would very much want Mr. Denga to perhaps give us a clear timeline as to when the actual outputs from this task team is going to be finalized. And when can we start to see actual action taking place? And I think, Madam Chair, I'm very emotional about this. And I think we need clear heads. And we need to not allow emotion to cloud our judgment, whatever that may be. I would also, just as a final kind of question to Mr. Voliter, I would like to encourage him to pursue the letter of the law and to assist the committee in holding the provincial department and any of the senior management, as well as any other responsible parties responsible for the mismanagement of these animals, and to hold them to account. So thank you very much, Chair. I expect a response, please.
Thank you, Honorable Peach. Honorable Paulsen.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you very much to Mr. Denga and Mr. Voliter. Good morning, Chair. Good morning, committee members, and good morning to members from the NSPCA and also the Department of Economic Development, Environment, Conservation and Tourism, DDECT, and the Northwest Parks and Tourism Board, NWPTB. Thank you very much, Chair. So in the presentation, Chair, it highlights the Northwest Parks and Tourism Board and the Department of Economic Development, Environment, Conservation and Tourism. And Chair, if you don't mind, I'm going to use the acronyms because the names are fairly long. They were aware of the initial elephant management plans and setting capacity at 240 or 400 to 500 elephants. Yet the current estimate is 1,633. Now, the National Council of SPCAs question why there was such neglect to control population of elephants over the decades, right? So I'd like to know, Chair, what is the specific independent investigations have been open to determine who's responsible for the oversight of elephant management plans and the Madikwe Game Reserve management? And what concrete actions have been taken to hold the board and management of the Northwest or the NWPTB and DDECT as the responsible departments, to hold them accountable for what they acknowledge is severe mismanagement that has led to the current crisis? I mean, this is just absolute neglect, and I concur with Honorable Peach that this is one of the most horrific presentations we've had in this portfolio committee. So NWPTB also claims that non-lethal control methods didn't yield any results, and the immunocontraception, although offered since 1998 and again in 2020 to 2023, was denied by the NWPTB. The presentation also says that a non-lethal program was considered far too late to be effective. Now, given the history of denying immunocontraception and the current elephant population of 1,633, what specific analysis or documented trials were conducted by the NWPTB to determine the ineffectiveness of non-lethal control methods, particularly immunocontraception? And why were these long-term preventative measures not implemented earlier when they could have had a positive effect on population management of the elephants? Chair, then the Madikwe Game Reserve is described as suffering from total veld degradation and barely suitable for maintaining an animal's health and basic needs. And it affects the forage for other species. So with the NSPCA questioning the tools used to determine the current carrying capacity, given the vastly degraded flora, what detailed, measurable, long-term ecological restoration plan is being implemented to address the veld degradation and alien invasive flora issues? And how will the success of these habitat restoration efforts be monitored to ensure that the Madikwe Game Reserve can sustainably support the target elephant population and other wildlife species? Then, Chair, lastly, the NSPCA is a statutory animal welfare organization and able to enforce Animal Protection Act 71 of 1962. They were informed in December 2024 that they were key stakeholders. Mr. Denga then confirmed it again today, and that they would be invited to a provincial task team. Chair, this did not happen, and Mr. Voliter states that they were shut off in terms of communication, and they received no minutes despite repeated requests. So, Chair, I'd like to know, why has the Northwest Parks and Tourism Board and DDECT, why have they excluded the NSPCA from the provincial task team and further discussions regarding the elephant management plan, especially given the NSPCA's critical role in monitoring animal welfare and enforcing the Animal Protection Act during any culling operations, and their previous experience with severe management cases like, for example, Marloth Park? Chair, and if I can just get this last question in. The Northwest Parks and Tourism Board and DDECT acknowledged a severe crisis unfolding at Madikwe Game Reserve in December 2024. And the NSPCA noted that the matter was deemed urgent. And despite the urgency, the NSPCA indicates that of June 2024, there's been no feedback. June 2025, sorry, there's been no feedback and no action taken regarding the culling plan. And they correctly question how many elephants have died from starvation during winter. And also, so my question is, what specific actions, including the culling program and aid for weakened elephants, have been implemented in the Madikwe Game Reserve between December 2024 and June 2025? And what is the current timeline for the commencement of the main culling program, given the stated urgency and the looming lean winter and early spring months? Chairperson, this is a dire situation, really. And we have to look at the neglect of the Northwest Parks and Tourism Board and DDICT that have led to this crisis. And there has to be action. We must make sure that there's consequences for this neglect, because someone has failed in their job here that has led us to this crisis. Sorry, Chair.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Honorable Paulson. Okay, thank you, Honorable Paulson. Honorable Makasi.
Thank you, Chair, and greetings to colleagues, officials present, and I would like to welcome the presentations that were done by both Mr. Voluta and Mr. Denga. Chair, I would start by raising the issues that from Mr. Voluta, who has actually presented to us the manner in which the animals are suffering, and that he has actually put options
Recording stopped.
on the table, and that it's 6 months down the line. He has not received any feedback and no action, which I think is why even my colleagues have raised the situation, which is dire, and would want to know why, with the many questions that he has actually raised in his document, were not answered. And also, Chair, I would want to check whether what were the reasons for the denial of the contraceptive program, as stated in the presentation. I have heard Mr. Denga saying that they have not proceeded or are not going to do the contraceptive program because they would want to reduce the elephants first, and then those that are then left would then they look at the program of starting this contraceptive. And I would like to check by when will this happen? Is there any time frame for that? And then two, Chair, there is an issue that is raised about a site
Recording in progress.
that was conducted in May 2025. Could we have the outcomes of that site visit so that we are clear on what was picked up? And then also interested, why did the task team proceed with investigation without the NSPCA, as they were the ones that brought the matter? They ought to have been involved, and I would like to check, is there any particular reason for their actual exclusion? And also, Chair, I would like for Mr. Denga to elaborate that he says the issues are being dealt with as sensitive as they are, but in that sensitivity and in that seriousness and sensitive of this issue, they are not responding to the NSPCA, which are the ones that actually brought these issues to them for their attention, to an extent that they further excluded them. why is there maybe not even a response that to the questions, because they are in writing. They could have responded to them and said that we formulated a team without you, and this is what we're actually doing. And then, Chair, I would like to check to what extent is the translocation considered, and that why is the culling in such a large quantity, which is 1,200, necessary in South Africa, and that whether is that number allowed according to the regulations. And then lastly, Chair, what alternative measures have been put in place to accommodate the expansion of the 135,000 hectares so as to place the population that MGR currently has? And I think with NSPCA bringing this matter to us as a portfolio, it's a necessity that we attend to it, and we should be able, I agree with my colleagues, get to the bottom of this and ensure that whoever that was responsible gets to account and be able to be taken to the book. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Makasi. Honorable Mkiza.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Good morning, Honorable members and Honorable Deputies, Ministers, and the officials present. I would like to extend my gratitude to Mr. Waliter. I hope I pronounce it right, your name, sir, for bringing this matter into the attention of the Portfolio Committee, hoping that this matter will be swiftly handled by the relevant stakeholders. Chairperson, what I've observed in this matter is the failure to enforce or update the elephants management plan consistently, lack of oversight and accountability mechanism to monitor population growth and plan implementations. Lastly, the absence of contingency planning for drought-induced crisis. I just have a few questions for, especially I wanted to ask MEC, unfortunately, she asked to be
No, I
excused.
am in, Chairperson. Sorry about that. I'm in.
Oh, okay, no, that's fine. My first question is, why did the Northwest Parks and Tourism Board ignore the original elephants carrying capacity outlined in multiple management plans for over 2 decades? And another question is that how many elephants have been killed to date? And has the killing adhered to national norms and standards under NEMPA and APA? Sorry, I think I'm getting flu. Why has the SPCA not been formally included in the provincial task team despite earlier commitment? And how will stakeholders' participation be ensured moving forward? What is the plan for compensation communities impacted by the mismanagement in the Madikwe Reserve? What mechanisms are in place to ensure compliance with the Meat Safety Act regarding the handling and disposal of carcass from mercy killing and potential killing? I thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Mkiza. Honorable Managa.
Thank you. Hey, Honorable Chairperson, I just wanted you to see my face, then I can switch off my video. Yes. Thank you so much, Chairperson, for recognizing me. Chairperson, I think some of the questions that I wanted to ask were asked by Mr. Douglas and no, not Mr. Honorable Paulsen. He has covered me. fhedzi ndina mbudziso ya kha Bodenga, ndi khou tenda uri ri khou pfana na zwavhuḓi. Mafhungo a euthanasia ndi a zwi ḓivha uri hafha kha vhathu a tou vha practice ine ethically it's allowed. A thi ḓivhi uri act ine ya protecta dzi nḓou kana zwiṅwe zwipuka ya ri tendelana kana i ri mini nga ha euthanasia. Tshiṅwe tshine nda khou tama u vhudzisa ndi mafhungo a uri ndi tshini tsho itaho uri vha ye vha dzhie nḓou hangeini Zimbabwe dzi ḓe ngeno South Africa. Mudzulatshidulo ndi khou pfha ndi na dzimbudziso mudzulatshidulo dzine ndi pfha ungari heinoni presentation I pfala I tshi tonga I khou tou fhelela zwavhuḓi nga maanḓa ye ya itiwa nga Bodenga. Vha tonga vhathu vhane vha khou ḓo appeara kha portfolio committee lwa vhuvhili kana lwa vhuraru. Ndi pfha ungari hu na zwinzhi nyana zwe ra ro tea ro zwi wana, fhedzi ndi vhona ungari Vho Douglas vho zwi khavara. Mafhungo a delayed management response ndi vhona unga ho vha na u lenga hafha ha u ita action. Ndi vhona ungari o lengisaho u tea u vha responsible kana u tea u ri fhindula uri zwo vhuyaho zwa ita uri ri ḓi wane ri na nḓou dzo no fhira zwigidi zwiṱanu na tshithihi ndi zwithuḓe. Tsho fhedzisela chairperson Bodenga ndi khou nyaga u ḓivha uri ṋama eyi ya nḓou yone a I ḽiwi na, arali I tshi ḽiwa a nga si tou vha na iṅwe nḓila ine ya nga itiwa uri khamusi I fhiwe vhathu ndo livhuwa.
Honorable Manaka.
Chair.
With due respect, had we knew that you were going to speak your language, we could have requested prior for translation services, and that was not indicated. So yes. I humbly request that you speak English. Not that I'm disregarding your language, but prior arrangement would have been done had you indicated that you will express yourself in your language. Can you kindly speak a language where everyone will understand, please?
Chair, but my questions were directed to Bodenga. I think he heard me.
We also want to hear Honorable Manaka, and also for the record purposes. Remember, we have our team here that is recording and also writing minutes.
Okay, let me.
You said earlier that your questions were covered by Mr. Waliter. Then I think you can just summarize what you have raised.
Okay.
Please.
The other issue that I was talking to is the issue of the overpopulation of the elephants. What made Madikwe to have such a huge number of elephants? They are saying throughout the country, sub-Saharan Africa, even the whole of South Africa, there is no park that is having that huge population of elephants. I also talked about the issue of euthanasia. I'm saying euthanasia in human beings. It has some ethical issues. It has some ethical considerations. People are to think twice before they implement such. So I want to understand, with Animal Protection Acts, does it allow euthanasia to animals? The other thing that I also talked about, it was an issue of, Chairperson, are we still together?
Yes, we are together, Honorable Manaka.
The last issue that I talked about, it was the issue of the animal, the elephant's meat. I wanted to check if the elephant's meat is edible or not. That was the last question that I posed to Mr. Denga. anyway, majority of the questions that I was having, Honorable Paulsen did cover me, Honorable, and also the presenter, Mr. Douglas, he did cover me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable
The other
Manaka.
issue was also the issue of the delayed response. What made us to reach this far, Honorable Chairperson? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Manaka. Honorable De Blok.
Thank you so much, Chair. Starting on a very positive note, I'd like to welcome Honorable Sompo Masiu. It's wonderful to have a new member on the committee, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy this committee. We're very close, and we tend to agree on a lot of issues, which is not always the case in many committees. So very, very welcome, Honorable. And then also just to say from myself, a very sad goodbye to Honorable Nalamango, although I'm sure she's going to make a fantastic chairperson in the tourism portfolio, but she will certainly be missed by this committee. Thank you to Mr. Walliter and Mr. Denga for their presentations. It really is much appreciated, and I'm glad this issue is before the committee. Firstly, just a correction off the bat to Mr. Denga. The global IUCN Red List classifies African elephant as endangered globally, not vulnerable. So that has been upgraded or uplisted, I think the right terminology is. So just so we have the best facts in front of us. Firstly, Chair, on the issue of carrying capacity, which at various points in presentations has been listed as 250, 400, 500, or possibly more, and there was even a mention of 1,000 economically derived carrying capacity. I'd like to know what that is, but more importantly, I think modern conservation management has moved on from carrying capacity, which is essentially an agricultural measure of how many animals can be stocked on a piece of land. And we work more in the modern sense on strategic adaptive management and thresholds of potential concern. So it's more a comment, but I guess Northwest Parks can respond on why they're not managing with the latest science. I'd also like to ask how those numbers are being determined. It was a question that Mr. Walliter also raised. What is the science? Who are the scientists who are giving us those numbers, and what is the basis for them? And then on to the proposed culling plan to 2034. The elephant norms and standards of 2007 or 2008, I forget the specific year, are still in effect. That is the latest law that governs how we manage elephants. And culling is a last resort on that after exhausting all the non-lethal options. I'm not coming at this as a greenie. This is simply the law. Madikwe's own elephant management plan also says culling is not the preferred option for management. The first option is contraception, which I'll get to. So again, it's a last resort in their own management plan. And then the integrated approach that was responded to by the minister, a national minister, which was mentioned, also has culling as a last resort and obliges the management to look at the non-lethal options first. So in all three cases, we have to exhaust every other option before we get to culling. So just to state that up front, and that's a frame for my questions to follow. So on contraception, this has been offered to the management since 2020 by an NGO who would bear all the costs. So there would be no costs to the reserve at all. In 2023 and 2024, apparently, this was refused on the basis of there being a drought and some fires. Between 2020 and 2023, I believe it was a delay because of the signing of the elephant management plan. But this has been an issue for much, much longer than just the last 5 years, even though in the last 5 years, the management authorities have neglected to implement this despite it being at no cost. It's literally an operation that takes a few days. So I'd like to, again, echo some of my colleagues and say, why has this not attempted? Why was this option neglected, especially as in their own elephant management plan, this is the first option that should be considered for population management. They've said that immunocontraception would take too long in the presentation from Mr. Denga, and only if the animals are within carrying capacity. I mean, I think there's certainly a strand of logic to that, but if immunocontraception is fully implemented, this would have the effect of stopping and stabilizing further growth, at least while this issue of culling is fleshed out among the task team and the others, this is still an option that, again, is at no cost to the reserve and can be implemented immediately. There are people with budget and capacity ready to go. And this has been an effective method used in other reserves. So why would that not be the case in Madikwe? There's a lot of question marks here. On water point management, which is another non-lethal option which hasn't been effectively looked at, if evenly distributed water in the reserve is causing elephant use to be homogeneous, why have they not closed water holes? And this has been done very effectively in the Kruger National Park, for instance. And it's a major factor in determining how elephants are distributed. So if there are particular areas that are more degraded, you can manage for that. Please, a response on that. Range expansion. Yes, we've had a plan from 2000 that appears to have been a non-starter, but there is a drive at the moment through biodiversity offsets to buy up land for conservation, and this would be a wonderful plan to support through this kind of biodiversity offset program. This is something that Sandparks has been championing and could be something that is looked at here to expand the range for these elephants. It's another non-lethal option that hasn't been fully explored. And then if culling did go ahead and they culled 1,200 elephants, which doesn't take into account the additional growth over the next 9 years, especially if they refuse to contracept, as seems to be the case, how do you process this amount of meat? I've done some back of the envelope maths, and that is 67 tons of elephant meat per month that needs to be processed. And based on the requirements of the Meat Safety Act, which would come into force, what would be the plan to dispose of carcasses? Noting that, of course, there are no suitable facilities in or near Madikwe. It's very, very rural and remote. And you'd have a large number of elephant carcasses to process. So what would be the plan there? Then, of course, have the risks to culling being considered against the impact on tourism. The management of Madikwe is particularly driven towards tourism and jobs and economy, which was mentioned in Mr. Denga's talk or presentation, rather, that biodiversity is actually a secondary objective. It was not set up as
recording stopped.
It was not set up as a nature
recording in progress.
It was primarily a tourism and jobs creating effort. So you're going to be risking potentially your main product here by jumping to a knee-jerk reaction and going and not exhausting all the non-lethal steps. And of course, this is a comment, but the risks are not contained within Madikwe or the Northwest. As was admitted to, this is going to be a national reputational issue. And this is something that Deputy Minister Singh, I think this falls within your responsibilities. You need to manage and be involved in very closely to avoid some significant blowback internationally. Widespread culling, of course, will result in the remainder of the elephant population being traumatized, and we have some elephant experts on this call who are observers. Chair, I don't know if they're allowed to comment at the end of our questions or not, but the likes of Dr. Rob Slotter, Prof. Rob Slotter would be a good additional voice to this argument, for instance. And the fact that it's been left, and my next question is covered by Mr. Paulson, Honourable Paulson, but it shouldn't be left to the NSPCA to intervene. This is unfair and wrong, and there needs to be people held to account for the state that this has got to. I won't spend any more time on that, as that's been a repeated question. And the task team hasn't completed their work, so how has culling and trophy hunting been prioritized? What basis is that if they haven't finished their deliberations? This seems like a predetermined outcome, which worries me. And I don't know that the stakeholder engagement and risk analysis process, which was done and concluded and signed off in 2017, 2018, has been taken into account. This is something that's referenced in the elephant management plan that needs to be taken into account. And I think it's pretty clear that these predetermined outcomes are not taking that stakeholder engagement into account. I've been covered on the task team composition, just to say that, for example, for immunocontraception, there's particular NGOs that are specialists in this, which haven't been able to feed into the task team's work yet, which is irresponsible, frankly. And there are other academics, the IUCN's African Elephant Specialist Group, that have not been involved in the conversation. And again, I think it's very problematic that those haven't been included in the task team up to this point. And I would implore the management authorities to make that circle a bit bigger and take on these groups, including the NSPCA, of course. I wanted to ask, it's tangentially related to this, but Pilanesberg Game Reserve is also under the same management authority and is heading the same way. What is being done at that reserve to make sure that we don't end up with another situation like Madikwe? We must now be proactive. We can't have the same situation happen twice on NWPTB's watch. Another option that I thought of, I'm not an expert in this, but additional feed during times of drought is sometimes an effective measure, obviously conceding that elephants eat a lot, but other animals, other browsers like black rhino, and other sort of browsing species, they presumably were under the same stress as elephants. So was this considered? Was this implemented? If not, why not? Trophy hunting used to occur in Madikwe, apparently, but was scrapped. So culling and trophy hunting, because of the effect on the ecotourism product, seems to be incompatible with the reserve, at least historically. So has anything changed? And why the reverse on that previous decision not to allow these? Then on to just some of the stats. The number of elephants that have died, which the numbers I have is approximately 75 elephants out of the 1,600 or so in the period of sort of the last half of last year, is about 4.3% of the population. So is this not a normal mortality rate? Obviously, these elephants were in very distressing condition, and that's something we need to take into account. But we should expect some natural mortality, especially if resources are limited. And if we are concerned with the total number of animals in the reserve, then natural mortality should be welcomed as a way to control populations rather than allowing the alternative. So is this not a natural mortality rate? Are we manufacturing a crisis here to allow culling to overcome the backlash to culling, or is this actually a crisis? That those numbers don't, apart from the distressing images which we were shown, the numbers don't seem to indicate as much of a crisis to me, especially in a period of drought, which I think in the last rainy season should have been broken. I don't know what the specific rainfall was like in Madikwe, but perhaps we can be brought into confidence around that. Has the landscape been revitalized to some extent through the exceptionally wet season we've just had? And then, sorry, Chair, I've just got a couple more questions. I'll be brief. Has there been observed mortality on other browsing species? So I mentioned black rhino, and has this borne out the fact that there is a drought-related mortality taking place? And how have those natural processes and species been affected? A comment quickly, you mentioned, Mr. Dinga, the bulls breaking into lodges. This seems to indicate to me poor fencing rather than necessarily the desperation of the animals. But again, I haven't seen the local context. I can't make an informed comment on that, but I thought I would just make that clear that is not necessarily a logical conclusion of that. And then, yeah, just lastly to say that there seems to be a lot of neglect and negligence that's landed us in the situation which we now have to deal with. And I think there's a certain amount of introspection and more than that, investigation into what were the missteps, who was responsible, and then to hold those people responsible. Thank you so much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable De Block. Honorable Khumalo.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Greetings to all honorable members and the officials that are in the platform. Chairperson, let me also join my colleagues who have welcomed the presentations from both presenters, but I'm also having some few issues that I want to raise. One to Mr. Volte. Or let me start here, Chairperson, that in terms of the report, or rather the presentation, it indicates that in 2006, management plan indicated that elephants numbers will need to be controlled, but they didn't specify the desired numbers. In other words, in 2006, there was an indication that the Madikwe Game Reserve is going to troubles. And then in 2012, the management plan suggested that elephant be reduced to 300. The number now is here. My question, Chair, is that why the number of the elephant in 2012 was not reduced, because the number was given. And then in terms of the reduction of water and nutritional trees, Mr. Volta, is it not the contravention of the Animal Protection Act? That is my question to you, sir. And then another question is that, Chair, how did the Madikwe mitigated against the challenge of bulls breaking into protected lodge areas? Chairperson, we've been told in terms of the presentation that there are PTT members that were appointed, and they've also done they've also conducted the investigation. Chair, I want just to request that as the committee, can we be finished with the report of the PPTT, because it is not attached here. Another thing, Chair, what were the outcomes of the site visit that was conducted? Was the review on management of elephants done as mentioned in the presentation? That is my question, Chair. I think that is my question, Chairperson, in relation to these reports. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Kumalo. Honorable
No,
Sombu Masiu.
Sorry, Chair.
Yes.
Lastly, I want just to check the issue with how far did they go in processing land claims from the communities. Thank you, Chairperson.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Honorable Somba Masiu, over to you, Mama.
Thanks, Chair. Let me just open my video so that I can greet the committee. Thank you very much. Chair, let me also appreciate the warm welcome that is done by the committee to welcome me, and I'm also looking forward to working with them. Let me take these greetings to the GMs who are here, and also the MEC of Northwest and his delegation, officials that are here. My question, I've got a few questions, Chair. First question, it will be it will be regarding the question that the Honorable Peach have asked. How long have you been appointed, Mr. Donga, on this position of that you are in? The reason of me asking is that there are a lot of challenges that are happening in Madikwe, and now the issue is, what is the role played by the board? Because the problems that are arising are not from yesterday or when, it's been a long time. And I'm also let me welcome the presentation by the SPCA to raising their voice to say they come to the community for assistance in terms of seeing that they have tried their level best to talk with the board, but at the end of the day, there is no response. What is the board doing about these poor animals who can't even speak for themselves in terms of being, you can see on the photos that we have seen on the presentation, how the malnutrition, they were not eating very well and they're not even taken care of. And then the other issue, somebody must be held accountable in terms of all these processes that have happened in that Madikwe Lodge. And also, Honorable Andrews covered me in terms of the numbers of elephants. They have risen from 250 initially, or to 500, from 500 to almost 2,100 and something now. The issue that I want to ask Mr. Long is what they have done. What did they do? What is their plan? Because all these things, it happened under their watch, but there is no plan, there is nothing that they are doing in terms of making sure that they don't, this issue could not have been so big to the extent that many animals have died under their care. Because I think that if they were having, the board was doing their work, and together with the officials that are responsible for taking care of Madikwe, they could have seen to say, man, there is a problem that is coming, the elephants are growing. So what steps can we take to avoid the disaster that have happened? And then the issue also that Mr. Donga have raised, that does not sit well with me, is the issue, the statement that he said that the matter of elephants is very sensitive. Yes, we agree that it's sensitive, but I think it means you don't have confidence in this committee to say, because you on your presentation and on your wrap up, you don't give us answers that we need as this committee, because I think the SPCA to us for help, because they could see that they are not getting any help or any response from you. And lastly is the issue of that Honorable Kuman have raised about the issue of, if we are having the situation that we are in terms of the numbers of the elephants that are there, how many that is left in that regard of Madikwe? Let me just pause. And also, Chair, it shows that even if the board, I don't know if the same board is also taking care of Pilan, like Honorable Andrews have mentioned, it means that there are also some issues that are happening there that we don't know of as this committee. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Sompo Masiu. From my side, honorable members and colleagues, I am highly covered by the members, but I just want to put emphasis on what my honorable members have raised, that as this portfolio committee, we need clear timelines for all the undertakings towards the population control of the elephants in Madikwe. And also, you have reported that you will have a meeting in July, and I'm asking myself, what is holding this provincial task team from including the NSPCA in their meeting, and why are they not holding a virtual meeting now in June, seeing that this problem it's a very it's urgent, it needs to be attended urgently. So it's a very critical issue that really needs not to be extended anymore. So I just want to check with them, why are they not holding a virtual meeting, include an NSPCA in it, so that this challenge can be resolved. I am going to give the NSPCA, if there were, I don't think there was much questions directed to NSPCA, but I'm going to give the Northwest Department and also we have the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment here. I will also give to the DG, if I have captured clearly the delegation from the department, so that they can also from their side tell us what have they done, and also who are these members. We also need the names of these members who are in the provincial testing, more especially from those who are representing our entities. NSPCA, if there were questions directed to you, followed by Mr. Denga, then our department. Can members lower your hands, please? Can you all lower your hands, honorable members?
Thank you. I think the first question was from Honorable Mananga, where the question was raised about euthanasia in terms of the Animals Protection Act. The Animals Protection Act does allow for euthanasia. Euthanasia is taking a life without creating stress, fear, and that within the animal. So euthanasia is allowed in terms of the Animals Protection Act. And then the next question, I think, was from Honorable Kumalo, and that was whether the reduction of water and nutritional trees would be seen as a contravention in terms of the Animals Protection Act. And that varies under certain circumstances, because as we know, the Kruger National Park reduced man-made water holes, which encouraged the spread of elephants throughout the reserve instead of focusing them in one area. So there must always be food and water available for an animal. Whether it means that the animal needs to walk a more of a distance to get to it, then and it's capable of doing that, then there isn't a problem with that. But in the situation where we're sitting now, where when it comes to winter and the lack of forage, then it is a problem, because the unnecessary denial of food and water is a contravention of the APA. I hope that answers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Walter. Mr. Denga?
Yeah, thank you very much, Chairperson. If I might just perhaps through you, Chairperson, if you may allow that, maybe we allow the Chairperson to come first, and then I'll then come after. Through you, Chairperson. Thank you.
No. Okay, the Chairperson of the board.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. And let me once again appreciate all our honorable members in the platform, but also appreciating the questions as raised by honorable members. And I think the level of detail of the questions, it's a clear indication of the concerns of all members, but also the interest to see the situation changed. And one thing I can assure you, Honorable Chair, is that that's exactly the same spirit and the same objectives and the goals that we want to see Madikwe in a totally new trajectory of elephant management. And when we do this, and I like how we all have put shoulders on the wheel on this aspect, because when we do this, as other colleagues or honorable members also raised earlier on, because elephants is quite an iconic species or a keystone species, whatever happens to it, it always raises emotions. But the good thing is that as this collective, Honorable Chair, we want to find solution. And part of the solution will be to work on the basis of principles as guided and also guided by our constitution. Earlier on, our acting CEO did make reference to Section 24, which requires that we put the requisite legislations, but also to make sure that all these resources that we have, they don't only benefit a few, but or this generation, but also future generations, and ensure that we do so ecologically sustainably, in an ecological sustainably way, so that we don't damage the very same richness and the basis, which is our biodiversity. So that means taking full responsibility. I'm saying this because beside the Constitution, which allows us to utilize these resources in an ecologically sustainable manner, the white paper, which has since been approved by Cabinet in 2023, has opened up opportunities for us to make sure that we conserve, we sustainably utilize, we show fair and equitable benefit sharing to communities, but also we transform this industry, which is, by the way, the wildlife or the biodiversity sector is 95.5% lily white and male white. And the black people who are beginning to find a space into this sector are only 3.3% or even much lower. So in terms of our discussion here, there are 4 things which, before I hand over to Denga, which I want to indicate, because I would humbly request Honorable Chair to allow the board to really, because all the questions that were raised are so critical. And unfortunately, we were not privy to the presentations because some of the areas that are raised, it will really require us to diligently give our honorable members decent answers so that we don't just speak off the cuff. Central to what I'm saying here, Honorable Chair, is that we have developed what we call the Elephant Heritage Strategy, which our minister published on the 27th of January this year for public comments. And through this strategy, Chair, we are beginning to see some of the elements that honorable members have raised. This strategy was developed by the people. It was not an expert-driven strategy. And we believe out of that work, we're going to find long-term solutions while we're resolving the short-term challenges of Madikwe and other areas in the Republic. An elephant eats on average 136 kilograms of food per day and drink close to 200 liters of water, especially in dry seasons, per day. You can imagine in a place like Madikwe, where you have got black rhinos, where you have got other herbivores, where you have got giraffe, the vegetation has been reduced to 2 meters on average. How will a giraffe tall as so many meters be able to feed? Meaning the pillaging of the ecosystem and the biodiversity in that area is not only affecting elephants. Elephant, yes, is in that room, but the damage that the elephant is able to cause if it is not managed is actually affecting all other species and the habitat itself. Madikwe, as you can see, during from the pictures as shared by our partners, the NSPCA, it looks like a desert simply because the density of their presence with that population is sitting at 60% of the total density of the area, meaning that it is affecting all other species. And that's why we really are making sure that as this new board, we are able to address the challenge of Madikwe and areas. This board was appointed by the shareholder or the executive authority at the end of February this year, and so was the acting CEO. So we are new in the place, but we are responsible to make sure that we don't then say what happened in the past. We want to make sure that with the mess that we have seen or that we are able to see, how do we address those so that we begin to bring solutions. There was a question, Honorable Chair, around why are we not having NSPCA as part of the committee? Denga has made it clear that we work with the NSPCA and we work them and we work with them as our partners. But I think it is important to give the NSPCA space to do their work in a validated manner. We work with NSPCA in many fora. It's always good to allow them a space in which they do their work because they are an independent organization who should be able to assert their authority in terms of the welfare of animals. It's always good to allow them to validate any work that we do, but working with them. But we are more than happy to interact and see how best we close that gap. If the space that we have given them to work independently, to validate all the work that the task team should do, should not be enough. It would then require that they are inside and part of the trench. That shouldn't be a problem. We can definitely look at that. But that, of course, is something that we can discuss. But it was not an intention, and it will never be an intention to isolate and put the NSPCA as if they are an enemy of the state. NSPCA is established in terms of the law. They report to the Department of Agriculture, although they've got high level of independence. But at the same time, we really require their services at all material times. Maybe let me then hand over to the ACO through you, Honorable Chair. Thank you.
Acting CEO.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chairperson. Thank you very much, Chairperson of the board, for that overview response. And I think that, yes, it is needed to sort of put things into perspective. And you've done that very well. And I think that your last response, yes, indeed, and we are thankful of the NSPCA having formed part, in fact, of the development of the, what we call the Mercy Killing Plan or the Euthanasia Plan, which it was shared with them, and then they really assisted us in that regard, during the time of the management of the challenge when the animals were dying at that time. And that just goes to show that we do work with the NSPCA. We would like to continue to do so, in essence. And then there are perhaps there was a question about the meat of the elephants. Chairperson, yes, that question, I think it's a very critical question to respond to, because in the likes, then it opens for many things that perhaps other members would have touched on in our presentation when we started. We perhaps even touched on regarding the sustainable solutions to a challenge that does not only become the challenge of this province. As we said, it could be something to be dealt with similarly in other provinces as well, and perhaps in the SADC. Yes, I'm sure you would have seen also the article last week about the Zimbabwe that plans to cull elephants and give the meat to the communities, and that goes to show that yes, the elephant meat is consumable. It can be consumable. It's a very good protein, and that has been done before in South Africa, from the Kruger National Park, where in culling was done in the past, and then the meat was processed very well, and there's already templates around the issue of processing of the meat that comes from the elephant for community consumption. And those are things that, as we say, we have put this team together to rationalize. We are beginning to build or put building blocks and looking deeper into the sustainable ways in which this could be unfolded. Of course, learning from the past of what has been done in other places, such as the Kruger Park. And that is why in our task team, we have the presence of your Stellenbosch University that looks into the issues of wildlife sustainable use specifically. So we want to make sure that whatever solution that we are going to implement at the end, or a combination of solutions, do in fact begin to benefit our people around and in the parks. And yes, the meat can be consumed. And it's not only the meat. There are more byproducts that comes out of the carcass of the elephant that can be utilized sustainably so for economic and community benefits. Yes, the problem of Madikwe did not start yesterday. I hear people keep talking about, when has this started? But this, you can see on the ground, this is not a problem of yesterday. In fact, the very first time when they introduced the number of animals or number of elephants from Zimbabwe, that should have been the beginning of the problem, in fact. Because when you introduce elephants in the smaller fenced areas, and then certain management practices need to be put in place, placing emotions, issues out of the room. And, we have always been saying that, and you've seen in my presentation as well, to say when Madikwe was created, the fundamental objective was about ecotourism. But it was never meant to be ecotourism at the expense of the environment or at the expense of the people around. So the balance needed to be kept. And that's what we're trying to come to the forth about now, to say, how do we then be able to get to ensure that we restore the balance in a way that the environment and the people are not somehow, somewhere superseded by the economic expectations of those that are perhaps saying more about the tourism. Yes. Tourism also must be taken into consideration in two ways. Now, there's what we call consumptive and non-consumptive tourism, broadly or generally. And we believe that the two can be able to coexist if it's done strategically so. And I'm saying that in response to one of the questions about whether the planned tools or actions to reduce the animals will not somehow, some way harm the tourism in the area. Yes, we will ensure that the tourism does not die, but again, we will also have the responsibility to ensure that the ecological asset does not perish. Without that, we have no basis for tourism at all. So in general, listening to the questions of the members, chairperson, and also, echoing the sentiments of my chairperson in his response, we are keen in saying if there were questions articulated to us, that's which we can be able to then think out in a much broader way and be able to respond to this committee, even if it is not now directly. We would love to do that so that we are able to also rationalize better the presentation of the NSPCA in line with some of the questions that have been asked now. And we believe that will make more formidable responses to some of the questions that have been there. But to note some of the few questions that I've responded to now, I believe that the interest is quite high, and we will have to make substantive responses, Chairperson, through you. If we are allowed, we will be able to submit them. And I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Denga. Before I hand over to DDG Flora Mokhotlwa, Honorable Marcus would like to ask a question for the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment before I hand over to DG. We have now less than 10 minutes or 20 minutes to conclude our meeting. Honorable Marcus.
Thank you, Chair, for allowing me. I would like to check with the department what new enforceable oversight mechanisms and performance indicators will be implemented by them to ensure rigorous adherence to carrying capacities, prevent future wildlife mismanagement crisis, and safeguard Madikwe and Pilansberg conservation and tourism reputation on a sustainable long-term basis. Also, Chair, I would like to also raise, while Mr. Dinga has just concluded, that I think I've noted that they are running away, or they are creative with answering our question that we have asked, that why is the NSPCA not part of the team? They are just indicating that they are working with them and they will continue to allow them to be independent. But we want to check, is there a process that was followed in terms of maybe perhaps guidelines or whatever to formulate this task team, or they exclude them deliberately? They have not answered that. That's how I feel. Thank you.
Okay, noted, Honorable Marcus. I see the hand of the MEC is up. Before I hand over to DDG, MEC, shortly.
No, thanks, Chairperson. I am also of the view that the committee must note that one, on behalf of the department, is appreciating the council and the inputs. The presentation that we have just received will want to apply the mind and do thorough consultation in as far as the content are concerned, but also to note that the MEC has initiated the appointment of the task team, and taking comfort also from the existence of the minister in as far as our legislation is concerned and responsibility. So the two of us have consolidated, but there are terms of reference developed. Chairperson, there's a lot of interest in the space. Like the presentation indicated, we have not included so many, including the communities who are actually occupying 56% of the land where we are talking about this elephant being utilized. But I am noting that and the sentiments, but I would not argue to say the Bodenga or the board must come up with a response, because I am the one who has constituted the committee, and I have also engaged stakeholders, but a committee is different from the broader space of other interested parties who might not be of speciality. And I have indicated that we can't restrict these other stakeholders that has got also interest even to come in to do their research. If they have interest of being part, the MEC will engage on how we then get into that space. We are also having other calls from other organizations. We will have to weigh the interests, we will have to weigh and bring the balance, and there's no problem to include those who will form part of the solution to the problem identified without any doubt. So I don't want to go into the fact that Bodenga will have to respond because they have also been given the mandate coming from the MEC and the minister by the teams that are there. If the team is yet to report to the MEC this next week, I will take it from their developments on their needs and their recommendations, and will also give counsel on the basis of the submissions of the committee. Thank you.
Thank you, MEC. DDJ?
Thank you, Chairperson. Good morning to you. Good morning to members. Good morning to the MEC and her team from Northwest and colleagues from DFFE. Chairperson, I need to indicate that as a department, we are already assisting the Northwest. You will be aware that Mr. Madikwe, who is the acting chairperson of the board, is also a staff member from the department who has been seconded to Northwest to assist them, not only in relation to Madikwe, but broadly to manage the board, the entity on an interim basis. So this has been an agreement between the minister and the MEC that Mr. Madikwe be available to assist the Northwest. The MEC has already indicated that there is a task team that has been set up. Yes, that task team does consist of us as the DFFE, myself as the DDG, and my team from the Species Conservation Directorate and also Wildlife Management are on that team, including the mammal specialist from SANParks, Dr. Sam Ferreira, and the elephant specialist from SANBI, Dr. Janetta Celia. So those are some of the DEF team that is available to assist Northwest in respect of managing this particular matter. I need to further indicate that we were scheduled to have visited the site in April. Unfortunately, due to the heavy rains, we were not able to visit Madikwe. Mr. Madikwe and his team have been on site over the weekend as part of the preparations for this, obviously as part of their oversight responsibility. As DM Singh indicated, we will be planning to visit Madikwe also, just so that as the department, we are intimately appraised of the real issues on the ground. I would like to believe that the images that we have seen, especially of drought conditions, might be something different because of the recent rains that we have. The summer rains have been too heavy and the ecosystem is in recovery phase at this stage. Further, I think in respect of the broadly the issues on elephants, I think Mr. Denga has adequately highlighted what the real problem is with elephants, not only in South Africa, but in the regions. Chairperson, last week you were dealing with matters related to elephants, the free-roaming elephants in Mawana, and yes, we are on course to provide you with feedback by the 7th of July. DM Singh did indicate that we are also planning an elephant summit. And this is a summit which hopefully will be able to deliberate on solutions that we need to put in place in respect of elephant management in the country. That summit will come at an opportune moment because, as you are aware, we are in the final phases of concluding the elephant heritage strategy, which we have taken through consultations across the country, especially in areas that are greatly affected by elephants. Even in Madikwe, the community was consulted in respect of what needs to go into the elephant strategy as a country and what kind of solutions we can put in place. The bottom line and the reality that we are facing, which is a very unfortunate situation, is that eventually there's going to be very tough decisions taken in respect of how we manage elephants in the country because we just have too many elephants. And as indicated, we are running out of options and are being pushed, unfortunately, to the last option, which I will not mention. But things suffice to say that we are, as a department, supporting the Northwest Tourism and Parks Board not only them, as Mvelo is being supported, so is Mpumalanga also. And we are looking broadly at what is it that we need to do with elephant issues. And obviously we are working even with our regional partners. We are noting the work, we are noting what is happening in Zimbabwe, the decision that they've taken around culling. Previously it happened in Namibia, as you may be aware. And as part of our consultation in respect of elephants in the region, as indicated, we have farmed too many elephants in the region. We will take a decision that also aligns to our policies, as Mr. Matiwe articulated very clearly what is in our white paper, and also to align also into to the elephant heritage strategy as it is being finalized. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, DDG. Honorable members, I think we need to put things straight here as this portfolio committee. I've heard the explanation from the chairperson of the board, in them not including NSPCA, and also the explanation from the MEC. And I think we are being taken chances here, because what they have explained to us should have been included in their presentation so that we can go through to it. If there were any form of specifics that needed to be followed when they were forming this PTT. For that matter, even the minister is accountable to this portfolio committee. I'm going to go through the resolutions of this committee. One, we are instructing you to include the NSPCA in the provincial task team. That is not up for any discussion. As this portfolio committee, we are instructing you to include them. And we are also instructing you to share minutes of the previous meetings that you had as the task team with the NSPCA. And we want that confirmation in writing that it has been included in the task team. And secondly, we would also want to get the provincial task team report of the oversight visit to be sent to us and also to NSPCA. The other one, honorable members, we need a report on a proposed population management plan or interventions with clear timelines, but to be sent to this committee as well. And also we want written responses to the NSPCA presentation, and those responses are due to be submitted to them on the 3rd of June this month, no, 13th of June this month on Friday. And also all other reports are due to this portfolio committee on the 5th of July, because I've heard that the board chairperson said they will have to submit written responses on almost all the questions that were raised by the members. So that is the time frame for all other questions that are going to be responded to, the 5th of July. But the one of the NSPCA, their time frame will be Friday, the 13th of June. We are not negotiating, honorable members and colleagues, on this issue of NSPCA, because we feel that they can play a very critical role in assisting this task team to resolve this challenge that we are having today. With those few words, let me take this opportunity, members, and thank all of you for your valuable participation in this meeting, and also the presenters who have presented and the observers who came to this portfolio committee to listen to us engaging on these presentations. I am just informed that we have Honorable Nalumango who just logged in to say goodbye to the portfolio committee. Honorable Nalumango, before I close. Honorable Nalumango. I was informed now that she has joined the meeting. Ki, what happened to Honorable Nalumango?
She was in the meeting earlier. Let me just call her quickly, just a sec.
No, okay. She wanted to say her goodbyes to the colleagues of this portfolio committee.
Chairperson.
Yes.
Just while we're waiting, I did bring up in my questions whether or not we could allow some observers in this meeting to talk and give opinions. Is that within the rules?
No. What we can do, Honorable Diplo, we can invite them to a different meeting so that they can share their expectations with us, but they cannot engage in this portfolio committee.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Ki, if you do not get hold of Honorable Nalmango, let's close the.
Yeah, she does not answer me.
No. It's
can
fine.
close.
I think let me take this opportunity, honorable members, and thank all of you and the colleagues that have logged in. Also our portfolio committee staff. Thank you very much. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Long live the chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Recording stopped.
Bye.
Stop.
You can end the call, the meeting. Chi?
Yes, Doc. I'm gonna end it shortly. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
So the NCOP, they have not dealt with this matter, ne? I forgot to get back to you.
Oh, okay. No, but
Yes.
I think they briefed us in detail. Now we know what's going on there.
Yes. It's just an up. Okay, we are online, can I? let's talk of it.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Bye. Yes, content advisor.
How are you?
Fine, thanks, and you. I know the people of Niani next to Zimbabwe, next to Beit Bridge. Even those people from Beit Bridge coming to South Africa through the yes, they eat the elephant meat.
Yeah, it's normal.
What's
been happening?
Yes.
What has been happening is that the park or the reserve, they've been afraid of culling elephants because of the international conservation groups. Not that it's wrong. It's a thing that's supposed to happen every few years.
And then the euthanasia, Yona, what about the euthanasia? They did.
What they call culling. Humans generally call euthanasia.
But they did it Abaira for 1,200 elephants.
They were supposed to do these things every few years, almost every 30 years, but it's 15 years since 99. That's why now the numbers have gotten to 18,000. The problem is that if you do not cull 5 females this year, next year those 5 females have given birth to other 5 or 4 females. Few years down the line, the number of females that are giving birth has quadrupled.
So who are these bulls? Who are these males? They're stronger now.
What happened? But I don't know what was the original reason of bringing so many males when there were already so many females. But even in that case, it's not really much of a problem of how many males are there in terms of the ratio.
Okay.
It's the problem of how many are they allowing to go into the next reproduction cycle.
Oh, yes.
So once you have more animals going to the reproduction cycle, then you have a problem of the population boom. And in other parks, I know that are managed by some parks, we also knew, like I told that one of the parks, my uncle worked there.
Okay.
So we knew that every few, because there's the culling of antelopes, like the springboks, impalas, those ones. Then there's the ones for elephants, then there's the ones for zebras. Zebras do not break that fast. So these are the ones. Then is the culling of ferals like your pig.
Okay.
Those things are breeding like crazy.
You know the
problem, because like the wild pig. Let's make an example with wild pig. This one can easily dig under the fence of their reserve. Then they go and create a mess in the surrounding areas, the communities. Because what often happens that next to parks, we also have farming communities. So some of the farming communities, they are into crops like maize.
Yes.
So once you have uncontrolled population of wild pigs or warthog,
yes,
then it starts having a bigger problem in the community. But in some of the areas, communities are also allowed to hunt pigs. And some of these antelopes.
Yes.
But they generally controlled, like for example in the NSPCA, they will know that every year they will give them a quota that okay, it's maybe 50 warthogs, maybe 30 springboks, maybe 20 this and that. Then when coming to the big ones like your elephant, the park takes responsibility for that. Then they will organize the abattoir. After shooting the animals, then they will be tracked to abattoirs. Generally, the abattoir will process the elephant maybe 2 or 3 days.
Kirina, once they take it to that abattoir, I want to buy them the meat from that abattoir for months until that sieve is that thing that they used to slice is clean. I don't eat the elephant's meat. Well,
what has it done to you?
I don't. My maid, she eats it with the female. But it's very nice.
What often was the case in our story that when they cull the elephant, they would cull generally the older or the ill one. Because once it gets ill, then it also affects might infect the calves whose immune system may not have developed that much. So to also manage diseases, those ones are
But sorry, Chanta. Mara, they talked of the juvenile. Didn't they kill those juvenile elephants?
The problem with killing with the juveniles died of starvation.
Oh yes, okay.
Because of the drought.
Keep the ones that we need for future.
Yeah, those ones are fine, but it's just that it's a matter of years before they also enter into the cycle.
Okay.
So if you have a constant supply of the juvenile that move into the breeding cycle, then your problem is already getting compounded. But what also happens that some of the parks, you find that they don't have a lot of animals. Like for example, they can take part of what has been culled into the lion sanctuary. Those things will eat those elephants. Just have to clean up after that. So there are different options of handling the meat. Not a problem as they are trying to portray it to be. It has been done, just that I think they've been lazy or someone is hiding something somewhere. What is also happening, sometimes they issue a hunting license to few connected people who sell it to the Americans. Then those ones, they come here as tourists, then they shoot down the elephants or the wildlife that's supposed to be caught for each year. That is one of the things that is happening around Kruger National Park because it's supposed to be done every year. They see that if we give this meat for free to the communities, we don't get any money in return. But rather, we can issue licenses, the hunting licenses, together with the provincial department. Then we make more money than donating money to the hungry community.
And then
that is then where the problem comes in, where the community will then be upset that in this park, we own a share of the land, but we are not allowed to hunt or people who are coming from somewhere else, particular whites, who are allowed to hunt and eat the
Marabona, they have a point. And then, yes, Nkandla, back then in 1992, they took the elephant from Zimbabwe. What informed them to take those elephants? Kiona Animal Protection Act. Or now we are what?
What used to happen is that we used to tell fish even now to manage our population. Let's say, for example, the state has identified certain areas such as low level of wildlife.